Alright, last video we built a whole bunch of stuff. We set up case sampler advanced. We set up our 2 buses to run all of our case samplers and be as unconfusing as possible. As simple as possible, I should say. Right. So, this step we're going to make this whole section very complex. And I'm going to show you some tricks with it. So first off, we're going to need to turn a whole bunch of these into inputs. So width, height, target, target again, and crop can stay where it is because I don't want to crop stuff. All right, so the reason, damn it, height and width. The reason we want these all as inputs is because they can actually make the image better. At least that's the theory anyway. So we want to break these out as something that it can read. And so we can set them all at in the same place. Wait, that can be height. Yes. And height. And width. All right. So this will now set the width on both. This will now set the height on both. And may as well just have them the same values. So we'll just plug all of them into this. All right, so yes, all plugged in properly. If you drag on a node, it'll show you what wires are connected to it. They'll go white. Okay, now this is going to make an image thing of 1, which means it's going to break it'll just throw an error if you try and do this with 1. So 1, 0, 2, 4. 1, 0, 2, 4. So typically, I find that if you double whatever your empty latent image's resolution by 2, you will get better images out than if you just leave it the same. So currently it's the same. In order to double it the easy way, you would set up a bunch of nodes that just automatically do this. It's more complicated. It means you need custom nodes. I have a lot of custom nodes, and I'll show you. So I have like, I don't know, 10 or so different custom node packs. And some useful ones are stuff like Derfuu's math nodes, which will do all kinds of stuff. They'll actually, you can convert things like values to certain things. You can get an image size is an amazing node, and I cannot believe it's not in the actual normal one, in the normal node set. You do math, so subtract, multiply, divide, and so on. WASsuit is also another very good custom set of nodes, and it includes a lot of stuff that is kind of replicated from the original, but with some additional stuff. It's got all kinds of cool stuff. It's got some really amazing stuff to do with images. You can do stuff like tweak the color, change the brightness. You can analyze images to figure out what colors they have. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can even do image recognition and just like select an area for you, which is really cool. So you may find, if you're trying to follow along, that I'm using nodes that don't exist for you, and I'm going to include links to the workflows in these so that you can just grab the same nodes if you're using Comfy Manager, which will highlight nodes you don't have, so you can actually tell it to download nodes you don't have as well, which it shows up here as a little thing called Manager, and you can install missing nodes, which is really cool. I think that's made by Lieutenant Commander Data, and he's awesome. All right. So I'm just going to set it because no one wants to see 50, 100 custom nodes to make this thing work. All right. Cat meowing at me in the background. Right. Empty lane image times 2. Right. So setting this to 2048 is good. It'll make images a little bit better. So we generate it again. It may be noticeably different, like noticeably better, but it also may be just literally the same thing. I think this is more effects when you upscale things. So if you use an upscaling process, it allows the conditioning to handle it a bit better, is I think how it actually functions. Yeah, I don't know. It still looks crap. Yeah, it's standing on the bumper, but it can't be standing on the bumper. But that's fine. That's fine. And there's no way the second one is going to fix it standing in the bumper. Any noticeable good differences? Nah, not really. Not really. Now I could up the values here so I could start it earlier and maybe get some more details out of it, but if you go too far, you start it too far into this process, it's gonna bring out worse images because it'll try and do too much of a job that it's not able to really handle by itself. Right, so fixing this to make it work better. So the trick is to have a few of these. And we're just going to leave one for negative because I'm being lazy today. Right. And in order to combine these together, we're going to use a custom node that does not exist. This one uses the WAS node set, and I'm just going to remove these. So in order to make this work, you need WAS node suit, and you're going to want to plug one into L, one into G. So what you want is the text concatenate. So what text concatenate is, it'll grab strings. Okay, so you have a string, another string, and what it'll do is it'll literally duct tape this string to this string, and it'll duct tape them end to end. So the one that's up the top of the list is duct taped to the top of this one. So if you go, I have a duck, and don't put a space on the end, and you type in a box, it's going to actually literally do copy paste right there. So I'm going to have a duck in a box. So make sure that you end these with a space and a comma so that it will actually do this properly. So just make sure that you end every one of these boxes with a space and a comma, or it's going to do some kind of funky stuff. A photo of. Right, so the thing about these kind of setups is you can use them to order your prompt, like like for your own mind as much as to actually make it work. Like this process is still going to send all of these words as a single string, right? What you're doing is you're organizing it and making it available so you can use these nodes on the second one as well, um, but in different orders. So you can remix this prompt by just plugging the boxes into different concatenate value, like sections. So what I'd like to do is I like to start it with Rhymy. How about an old photo of? Right. So an old photo of, and this is going to be my art medium node. Right. So this goes first. This is so that it knows what you're trying to make it like. You're trying to make a photo. You're trying to make it 3D. You're trying to make it whatever. You put it in here. And this is, you only put this. You don't put all your quality. You don't put stuff like ultra high definition or 8K or anything. You don't put that stuff here. This is just to make sure that it knows, yes, I am doing a photo, or I'm doing a 3D image, or I'm doing a clay sculpture, or whatever. And here we can just go a duck with yellow feathers and a blue head. And then in a box, we're doing location. Lactation, okay, right? Location. My brain and my dyslexia do weird things to me. Right, subject. So subject, location. So art medium, subject, location. Good idea to lay out your prompts like this anyway, like normally, even if they're in one box. But this way you can kind of share them between these multiple things, and I'll show you that. Right. So clipped G, this is the important stuff, right? So you want the location, subject, art medium for sure, definitely, right? Qualitative stuff, so ultra high definition, 8K, photograph, film grain, and let's put motion blur, maybe. I don't see why not. And another one, DLSR. Right. They're all ended properly. They're all being stuck together. You'll notice that this one, I'm just going to rename it. I like to rename them. Is not going to go into this one. It's going to go into this one as the second part. The reason is this is the background, and this is like the quality of the thing. So that's why it goes into L. This is how I understand it to work. It doesn't mean that I'm right, because no one has officially said this is how clip G and like text G and text L work, right? This is how I get the best results. I could easily be wrong. Use however you want, really, but you can always just connect this thing up here as far if you want as well, but it's not really required, at least as far as I can tell. Right, so we've got this is set up. This one needs to be reconnected. So this refiner needs a different setup. It needs the same thing, a concatenate, but because we're using two of these things, we connect the first part, which is all of the goodies, all the main stuff, and then we connect anything that's not connected to this one, goes under this one. And because I like to do things this way, let's add a custom node, debug. All right, debug text. So this particular node is in, I can't remember his name. It's Quality of Life Suit by Olaf95, I think. And so what it has a bunch of cool stuff. But one of the good things is it has the debug text, and this will send the text that you have in here. It will send it to your server console. It'll print it in here when it runs it. Which is good if you're using these kind of nodes because you don't have the prompt as one list somewhere, and it'll help you spot if it's busted, basically. So, this appears to be set up correctly. I could be wrong. We could be making something bad, but it should be okay. If I sound weird, it's because I have a runny nose and I'm home sick, which is why I have time to make this tutorial. All right, looking good. It's got yellow feathers. It's got a blue head. However, it has made a blue floor and a blue box because it is not great at figuring out the difference between items in a prompt. They really need to have a thing which defines that these things are attached to this. Like there needs to be a thing in prompts which says like this thing between these kind of brackets is one thing. You can kind of do that with a thing called break in the prompt in 1.5. I'm not sure if it works in SDXL. All right, so the first duck is more like an eagle because it has a predatory hooked thingo for catching fish on the end here, which is not a real duck if it's doing that. The eye is not great. It looks more evil than anything else. Feathers, very as box, kind of weird distortion here. All right. The second one, after the refiner, it's fixed the nose, it's fixed the eye. Feathers look a lot better. Box looks better. This is still messy, but it's something, right? So, as you can see, setting up all of this stuff has allowed us to make an image that looks a bit better than the other ones where it seems it's still like it's technically a duck in a box, but it's not in the box. And you'd have to change camera angles and change prompts to make it do that. But this is the complex way of setting up the clip text SDXL for anyone who has seen other tutorials and, you know, wanted to know what some of the more complicated things on this mean. I'll just explain this. As far as I'm aware, the crop stuff and the target width and height are designed for focusing G into a certain place. So text G, in theory, you could say I want to only use in this section of the image. I think that's what it does. I haven't been able to properly test it because it just doesn't seem to behave like with any kind of consistency. So if you want to mess around with this stuff, it's not going to break it. But it may not be doing what you think it's doing if you're assuming things. I assume that it needs more explanation by one of the devs of SDXL or whatever, or SDXL, because currently, yeah, it's clear as mud. No one has any idea what this stuff does. But that's one method of doing it. I like to color code these as well, by the way. Subject is green. Medium purple. Qualitative is usually Brown. Right. So, yeah, you can mix and match these concatenate things as you want. If you want to try out putting the subject in here, you can just rearrange these however you want and just see what works for you to make the image better. Um, there's no hard and fast. Yes, this is the only way it will work. This is the only way it'll make a good image. It can make a good image any number of ways. Um, even the people who made SDXL still don't know the optimum 100% way of plugging everything in to make it work in ComfyUI. As I understand it, a lot of the researchers have been using Comfy because it gives you a lot more control over how these samplers work than A1111 will. It's given it blue wings, not a blue head this time. And it appears to be kind of a rubber ducky. No box, too. See how I changed this one thing and I want to put a box in, but it's not preferring to put a box in the image. That's one of the reasons I laid out the way that I do, which is this one here and this one here. Anyway, so hopefully that has helped you figure out somewhere amongst my rambling how to actually sort out SDXL and how to understand what certain parts of it do and some useful ways of laying things out. If you're interested in some more tutorials like this, let me know. I usually post as Fernicles on Reddit. I'm in the ComfyUI subreddit and Stable Diffusion Reddit and AI Images Reddit and whatever. But if you want some stuff, just ask there, and if I'm around, I may answer you, or I may make a tutorial like this to cover that. Anyway, this is going to be included. The better version of this is going to be included in as a JSON file with this. I would suggest you actually build this yourself rather than attempting to just use the one that I provide, because the one that I provide is going to be more complicated. I'll just show you my more complicated one. Which, same kind of layout as before. Okay, got some notes in here about prompting kind of syntax. But this thing is different. So this is your initial image stuff. I'm multiplying it by 2 over here instead of you entering the value. This is how you generate images. And this is where you get your initial image from. So here's your empty latent image, by the way. But it's all set up to kind of just output a thing. There's 3 different ways of outputting the starting image, and you just pick them over here, and it will bring out something different with each number you put in. 1 is the standard empty latent. 2 is pre-diffusion, which is like an initial, very basic, very quick step of a sampler with a different keyword. So this like makes like a very basic image like this, very boxy, very kind of indistinct, very, very quick. Doesn't even need to relate to your actual original prompt. It's just for composition purposes, like lighting, color, the shape of the image in a way, like where dark spots are, that kind of thing. and it'll feed out of this output here into whatever you want. So it could be KSAM, it could be that advanced setup you learned earlier, or it could be just how it is here. This can be run up here, but it's in this group, so you can drag it where you want. If you want it out of the way, if you want to just put stuff in the middle. But I'm putting it in the middle because it's kind of, I like to have stuff set up so that it goes to the right as I work, basically. Anyway, so this whole setup will be included in the along with the video somewhere. I'll link it somewhere anyway. Probably on Reddit where I post this thing. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rambling. Go make some cool stuff.